Welcome everyone to the Newstime podcast. This is a bonus episode for this week. I'm your host for this week. My name is Andy. With me we have Brooke Stats.
Hello.
And Hunter Rankin.
Hey y'all.
Today we are going to be talking about something that's near and dear to my heart and something that I believe is very important, and that's going to be mental health. So a lot of things go into mental health, and a lot of things are difficult to talk about with mental health. It's a topic that everybody knows about, but nobody really knows how to talk about it. And so we're just going to talk about it today and give our ideas, some advice, and discuss what we've gone through, or we have some friends who've gone through, how we've helped, and then of course give some resources for people to use on campus, off campus, and just in general.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. So my first point is, so I've been doing a lot of research on this, just by myself and on myself as well. But I came across an interview with an artist the other day, and she was talking about how we're taught from a very young age, what are you going to do, who are you going to be, what are you going to do, where are you going to go for school, what are you going to do when you grow up, and we tend to build our identities around that and who we're going to be, what we're going to do, and we don't allow ourselves to maybe try new things or be something else. So it becomes this encapsulating and really trapping sense of mind, and it's not taught everywhere. It's especially taught in American school systems, but it's just because there's this focus on if you're not doing anything, then you're not really worth anything.
Yeah.
And if you're not doing something that's going to make you a lot of money or make you really successful, then it's not something that you can, then that society will look down on, and that's not super healthy as a concept to think about. But that's just one thing. Feel free to jump in whenever you want on if you have a specific thing you want to talk about. Just some things about starting a conversation with somebody. It's often, no matter how much experience you have, it's really difficult. There's no easy way to start a conversation with somebody about their mental health. But if you see a friend or a loved one closing off or becoming isolated, or it really just affects everybody differently. There are many different things that many different ways that mental health problems and other stressors will affect people. It's just a natural thing. But if you see somebody starting to distance themselves or closing off, that's a clear red flag that you want to not jump in, but show that you are supportive and everything.
Just showing you're there for them.
Yeah, exactly. So some openers that might help when you're trying to start a conversation is I haven't heard you laugh in a while. Are you okay? Or just saying that you're worried about them and you want to know what's up so that you could help. I feel the main thing for you to do when you're having a conversation with somebody about their mental health is to show that you're open and that you're there to listen. That's your entire job. You're not there to make it about yourself.
Yeah.
Let them express what they need to in their own time, and show that you're there for them. Be available. So if they say that some days it's really hard to get out of bed, and they try not to make it an I statement, your response. If you they're it's just really hard to get it out of bed today. You're yeah, me too. That's fine, but that's not showing that you wanna listen to them.
Yeah.
It's more you're I understand, or like something else. Just try not to like make it about yourself. Try to make it like a third party thing. That's a very important thing too. Yeah. I like I contacted like a bunch of friends that I have who have been going through mental health problems, and like, you know, even myself, I just wrote down a whole bunch of notes that I've had, and like, you know, things I've learned in therapy and shit. So it's really great, honestly. Doing this was honestly, preparing for this bonus episode was a really great way to like work through some things in your head.
Yeah. I think it's just good whenever you're like feeling something, just write out.
Oh yeah.
Write out your emotions.
Oh yeah. Writing usually helps like a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely support the whole writing thing. I do that often. I actually have like a whole separate journal in my room dedicated to writing it out, you know?
I mean, any kind of creative expression really
really
helps work out what you're feeling.
Yeah. So some other things when you're having a conversation with somebody, make them feel comfortable. Like that's really just the main thing, is to make them feel comfortable. They shouldn't feel ashamed about how they're feeling. That's just a shitty thing to do. Like making them feel like they're like what they have is a crippling thing.
Yeah.
Like even if it is crippling for them, making them feel crippled on purpose, that's just, even on accident, it's just a shitty thing to do.
Yeah.
You know. But the main thing is to make your intentions clear and repeat that it's okay to feel how they are, and like that it's not a bad thing to want to seek help.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And want to reach out. It's okay that they feel this way.
Yeah, I think we live in a very individualistic society sometimes, and it's hard for people to want to reach out, so being able to, you know, make sure they know that it is okay to need help, because everyone needs help sometimes.
Mm-hmm. And like, it's weird because like something from like a personal experience kind of thing for me, whenever I would try to bring it up to like my mom or anything, there would always be like this disconnect where she'd be like, hey, we all have those days. And like, I get it. Like that's true. We all feel shitty some days. But like, to me, like when I'm like in that zone of like really just far gone or like closed off, saying that like, yeah, we all feel that way is kind of like belittling almost.
Mm-hmm.
In my own experience, it's just been like, every time that I try to bring it up, it's just like, hey, we all feel that way. You're like, well, yeah, but like, no.
Yeah.
There's like other shit that I'm trying to like talk to you about, and you know, sometimes it just doesn't connect, and sometimes they don't understand how to open up.
Yeah.
And how to have a conversation with somebody. And that's why we're having this bonus episode.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that we can give you some tips, and I'll link some resources into the description of the video, audio, video. Because there's no real video, it's just audio. But I'll link some sources that you could use for like to find other tips, or like crisis lines and everything. I'll put all of those. I'll say a few of them in the pod later on, but I will also link all of them into the video when I post it later on.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the week. Anything you guys wanna do, like testimony or anything?
I mean, maybe once we get into like specific our experiences with like personal mental health struggles, I will say one thing right now. It's hard for me to open up, and like having people approach me and like start the conversation is really useful to me.
Oh yeah, it's a wonderful thing. Like not having to be the one to like start it.
Yeah.
Is wonderful. Like having somebody else come up to being like, hey, I've noticed something's wrong? What's up?
Yeah.
I want to help.
I mean,
that like relieves all that pressure of having to like choose like the person to open up to, and there's always like that chance of them like not being the one to trust, you know?
Yeah. And, you know, it also feels like, you know, if I approach someone to talk about my mental health, then it's like I feel like a burden to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Whereas when someone approaches me to talk about my mental health, then it's like they're lifting the burden off of me.
Yeah, exactly. They're showing you that you're not a burden, that you're like, it's okay, and that they're there to listen.
Yeah.
And they're like, thank you. Thank you. And like, honestly, like the things that we're saying right now, all of like the people that I talked to over the past few days have given me pretty much the same information. At one right after that. Everybody has to say the same thing. It's basically, it's find healthy hobbies and coping mechanisms, which I know is very difficult to do alone, because there's all that shit going on in your head, and you think something's healthy, and it might not even like be all of a sudden. You like with this isn't like a personal example, but something that I learned as I was doing research from a personal example of somebody that I watched in an interview. They were suffering from anorexia, and it wasn't like an instant thing, and it never is for anything really. I mean, it's a gradual escalation up until the point where you're definitely not okay. And for them, it was just like, you know, I'll just cut carbs today to be healthy. Like dieting yourself to make it a healthy diet, that's fine. But then it eventually snowballed for them into completely cutting out something, and then completely cutting out another thing, which, you know, sometimes you have to do for like health reasons. But when you don't, and then you realize at some point that they realized at some point that they were like not eating. They were counting like separate, like small things. Like they were counting like how many nuts they could have that day, and that was their whole food for the day. Like when it gets to that point, and like you don't even realize it when you're so deep in it, you don't realize it. And like that's the thing. Like it's not a instant thing where you're like, all right, today I'm gonna not eat anything for the rest of my life. It's not how it works. You at one point, sometimes people wake up to it on their own. Sometimes it takes somebody else being like, hey, I've noticed you're looking thinner than usual, or something, or whatever, or you haven't like smiled or laughed in a while, whatever it is that they're suffering from. But to keep going with like the whole anorexia story that I learned, they like it just popped into their head that they were like their mother would keep saying that like they were thin, or like just subtle hints, like keep hinting at it, that their mom noticed that they weren't eating, and it after a while it clicked in their head that they were like, oh, it's gotten so far from where it originally started. And like that's just how it is for like even all like any mental health issue, is that it's not something that happens instantly, or even over the course of like a few months. It can take like over the course of years and stuff, and that you don't always recognize that you're doing it. Like the first time that I realized I was in a depressive episode was sophomore year of high school, and it just clicked one night when we were like driving to Cleveland, and for like a play during the winter, and I looked at the lake and I was like, man, it'd be perfectly fine for me to let myself drown in there, and then no one would care. And then my brain was like, hold up, what? And so that's when I like first realized that, like, because it had just clicked, and it was like, wait, that's fucked up. Why the fuck did I just think that? And then it was like this whole part where I was like, what am I doing? Why was that going through my head? And then over the course of like the next few months, I like really worked on trying to dig myself out of that. But you know, it works sometimes, and then sometimes it doesn't. But it's been like 4 or 5 years, and like I'm basically back to where I started that sophomore year of high school, but in a healthier way, kind of. I say healthier way because I'm still depressed, and it went away for a few years actually. So I must have found a healthy coping mechanism of some sort subconsciously, because I didn't think about it or anything for like 3 whole years, which was wonderful. But it's come back recently over like the past year and whatnot, and but I'm dealing with it in a more healthy way, because now that I'm going to see a counselor and going to therapy sessions where I'm learning coping mechanisms and everything like that, it's using my, yes, I have this problem, but before I didn't do anything about it. I would just like, haha, oh well, and then just like brushed it under the carpet basically, and that's not healthy at all. But now I'm actually like starting the conversation, not with like people. I mean, we are here now, but it's more of a like between you and your counselor. It's confidential, so you can say and work on so many other things that you wouldn't say to your friends or family members or like specific people. With that confidentiality comes the ability to work at your own pace, to say the things that you normally wouldn't even say to yourself. So.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of in that spot right now where I think I want to go see a therapist, because like,
oh yeah,
I don't know, I've dealt with like issues, just like anxiety and like self-hatred, like all throughout high school.
Oh yeah.
And it's gotten like a little bit better now, but I still have those thoughts, and I haven't gone to therapy about it, and I feel like I need to. But
yeah, and here's the thing, like with therapy too, here's how like I see it. Even if you're like perfectly fine, it's totally reasonable to go to therapy. Even if like you don't feel like you're anxious or depressed or any of the other mental health problems that you could have, if you are like really like, if you're in a good spot, it's still perfectly valid to go to therapy, because even if you don't have a mental health problem or like an issue that you need to work on, or you're not being consumed by something, talking with somebody even about just like what you did that day, or like small things, even if you like, it's not something that like controls you or like is something that you think about all the time, or like like a mental health problem, even if you don't quote unquote have a mental health problem, it's still perfectly valid to go to see a therapist, even if you're in a good spot, because just talking to somebody is always a good thing to do. And I even recommend, like, even if you're like better, like you've worked through something and you stopped going to see a therapist because you've gotten better or something, it's still perfectly valid to keep seeing a therapist even when you're not in that like crisis area, because even again talking about like what you did that day, or how like anything with just somebody is totally reasonable.
And it could really help if like you start slipping back down.
Because
they'll probably be able to recognize like, oh, that's different from what you were saying like a couple months ago,
or even a couple days ago. Like it'll, even if you're like doing fine or you've never had a problem before, it helps like talking to somebody who knows what they're doing, an expert, even if it's not an expert, just talking to like a friend or anybody, just having that constant source of someone to go to just talk about anything that's on your head is such a great way to track yourself, kind of, because they can like Brooke said, they'll notice like if there's like a regression, a relapse, or even just the start of something that's like, hey, what's up? And that's like almost a perfect segue into what I had highlighted in my notebook. One of the pieces of advice that I got from a friend of mine was for everybody, really. Actually, all of this was for everybody. But it's don't be afraid to hide how you're feeling. It's okay to want to find help. And then I added on, and maybe that's one friend you have, or a specific family member, or whomever. Even if it's just one person that you trust enough to talk to, it's okay to do that. It's better to have that one person in your life that you know you can trust with anything, and then to have like multiple friends where you're just like you don't have anybody to like go to. Because if you have nobody to talk to about how you're feeling throughout your day, you just start bottling it up, and then that's never good. Because I used to do that, and bottling it up is one of the worst ways to deal with it. It's one of the least healthy coping mechanisms to deal with like whatever you're going through. Because like pushing something down is just gonna make you feel worse later.
Yeah.
Than how you feel right now. And it's just in the long run, it's just gonna make everything like. So, say you're like, oh, I just had a shitty day, and like I felt kind of anxious about a certain thing, but you don't talk about it and you don't address it even to yourself. If you just like stamp it down in the ground like, nah, I'm tough, it's gonna resurface eventually, but it's gonna be like 10 times worse because you didn't deal with it then, and so now it's just been festering inside of you, and then it's had other shit thrown on top of it, and then eventually it just gets really, really bad,
Yeah.
I mean,
I could go on for days. So, yeah, this is like something that I'm really passionate. It's like one of the few things that I'm very passionate about in my life. But definitely mental health is one of the most important things to me to talk about and to work on.
Yeah.
So like I could go on all day. If one of you wants to jump in at any point, feel free.
I don't know. You guys have touched on your personal experiences with mental health, so I guess I'll tell my story.
Yeah.
So my family has a pretty deep history of mental health issues. Depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, eating disorders, like, can all be traced back, like, within a couple generations. And I think that I definitely have some of that. But there's also something else there for me. I'm transgender, so I feel gender dysphoria.
Oh yeah.
I don't feel happy with the male body that I have, and I think it's weird for me to try and parse out what from my feelings is related to that and what isn't. But one of the big things that comes with gender dysphoria for a lot of people, before they really even recognize it as gender dysphoria, you feel a complete disconnect from your body, and you kind of dissociate a little bit. I honestly couldn't really tell you what kind of a person I am. I'm just so disconnected from who I am right now. I'm trying to get better at it.
Yeah.
But so one way to remedy that is transitioning, and I've talked to a doctor about starting hormones, and that should be happening within the next couple months.
That's exciting.
And one thing I want to say on that front is I'm really hoping that helps me to express my emotions better, because testosterone really affects how that happens. There's a conversation about male socialization is we need to teach boys that it's okay to cry, and honestly, as a trans woman, I can tell you it's not socialization, it's hormones mostly. I can probably count on my hands the number of times I've cried in the past 2 years, And there have been a lot of times where I've wanted to cry.
I could count you on one hand in the past decade. It's one.
Yeah.
And that was back in 2005. Like, it's more than a decade, actually.
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, it's I don't know, I guess, yeah, hormones would make sense.
So...
It's just a different biological reaction.
Yeah, so I think especially for people who have testosterone flowing through their veins more so than estrogen, I think therapy is like probably a good way to like release a lot of emotion because you're not doing it as often on your own with crying. Crying is a great release.
Crying
and
is
it's
great.
Something that I don't get to experience that often.
Yeah.
I would like to see a therapist hopefully once I've started hormones so I can kind of be more in touch with my emotions.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah. So that's my story.
Perhaps. You know, I mean, I talked to a bunch of different people over the past, like, week and a half, asking if they had anything that they would want to say to, that I could put into the discussion, so that they could, like, get that out there. And I had a lot of good points being brought up, one of which was mental health is an ongoing journey. So it's something that isn't just like 3 months and then you're great.
Yeah.
It's gonna last you your whole life is the thing. You know, with different kinds of depression and anxiety, sometimes you can treat it and it'll essentially go away. But with other types, it doesn't. It's something that you'll feel better some days than you will other days.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just how it's going to be for the rest of your existence. And, you know, it's something that you'll have to deal with. But mental health is an ongoing journey. You'll have your ups and downs, even when you think you're quote-unquote better. But that's okay, because, like, the thing is you're working on it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're working on it in a healthy way, that's all that anybody can ask, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I brought up the point that mental health affects people way differently.
Mm-hmm.
And this, of course, should be common sense. It affects everyone in different ways. For me personally, I tend to close off a lot and then just start, like, spiraling because I've closed off. But, you know, and that doesn't give anyone the right to think that their mental health problems or issues or their mental health in general is more important or worse than someone else's. We all, and in their words, this person said, we all have our shit and it'll just get shittier if we don't help each other through it, or at least just stop attacking each other for being either more or less healthy.
Yeah, I think I have very different coping mechanisms than you do.
Oh yeah.
Like I feel like I remember, like, all throughout high school I used food a ton as a coping mechanism.
Coffee and ice cream are a big one for me.
It's insane. Like I would eat so much food in high school, like, and then, like, I don't even know. It's crazy. I feel like another one of, like, my coping mechanisms, there's something I do even if I'm, like, feeling very upset or I'm having a bad day, I don't want to show people that.
Yeah.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
so I just, like, put on a smile and, like, make jokes and pretend everything's normal.
Oh, 100%.
And that's what I do to cope, usually try to get people to laugh. And
like, the thing that I've found that has gotten, like, that has been, like, the main, like, trying to find the right word, like, enzyme? I don't know, like you know how an enzyme, like, starts the reaction in a cell?
Like catalyst?
Yeah, that one. The catalyst. It has been, like, see, we know science. The main catalyst for, like, most of my, like, bad shit is having to maintain the identity, to say, of this super happy-go-lucky, like, ray of sunshine person that, like, a lot of my friends have known me for most of my whole life. especially like when I'm at home. It's pretty tough when I'm home because all the people that I knew in high school knew a different me, to say, and like letting them in on that is has been difficult. I have like a set group of friends that I like to talk to from back home. We have like a group chat set up and everything. And so I've over the course of like the past few months, I've like let them in gradually on like how I'm doing, and and like just opening up like that, because I've been doing so much worse. I've started to open up more. It's weird, but only to like a select few of people. Like but it's gotten bigger over the past few months of the people that I've let in than that I've let out, which is great. But having to keep up like that identity of being like the ray of sunshine, it was like always and still is, honestly, is like the worst thing that I can think of, because it's who you want to be. For me at least, that like that mask that I have to wear every day, most days, that mask that I'm like wearing is who I want to be and who I used to be, and maybe not even used to be, but like used to act like, and so that's how everybody knows me, and like having that to like keep that up, you don't have to either.
Yeah.
But you feel like you have to, because being how you really are is way harder than just pretending to be somebody that you're not. I don't know. And so like having to put like that mask on to be that, like, ray of sunshine person was always and still is the hardest thing to do, like every day. And it like before I like started to go into therapy and everything, it like started to really, really wear me down. Like every day I'd like wake up and it'd be like, I really don't feel like doing anything or like putting on the mask today. Like I started to like not realize who I was.
Yeah. And
that's like not okay. And I was like, all right, this is fucked up. I need to do something about it,
It's so tough, because I know, like, in high school, I smiled all the time, I would make jokes all the time, and I know, like, that's the reason I like comedy, is because I feel like it helped me, because even when I didn't like myself, and if I could make other people laugh, it would make me feel better.
Yeah.
So it's just knowing that I can make someone else happy, like, helps
like
me.
Always see, I'm a very empathic person.
Yeah.
So like I'm very like tuned into like how other people are feeling, and then that sometimes like triggers if somebody I know is like having a shitty day, my day instantly flipped to a shitty day. Sometimes. Just because it's so finely tuned into other people's like wavelengths, it sucks.
Yeah.
But it's also like a very good tool, and like that's what kept me going too, is like making sure that I could make other people's days better. It goes along with like the ray of sunshine mask. That mask that I wore, it was like it would have to be making sure that everybody else was okay too.
Yeah.
And then like I could be like, I put myself on the back burner, and like I didn't matter, but making sure that everybody else was doing okay and was having a good day, or like if somebody was struggling and I was having like a real shit day or week or whatever, and I was in a really bad spot, it didn't matter. Like if somebody was like, hey, I'm having a really bad time right now, and I could really use something, I would instantly, like the mask would instantly come on, like reflexively. Like it wouldn't matter. It'd be like, all right, all this shit that I'm dealing with, push it down, forget it for like 10, 20 minutes, whatever it took to get that person feeling all right again.
Yeah.
And so like I know that that's like something that I've found is both kept me going, but also turned into sometimes an unhealthy coping mechanism. Like an unhealthy like obsession with having to be like that person that helps out, that person who always makes things better. I don't know.
I think that's part of why there are so many depressed comedians, you know?
Oh,
Yeah.
Why are all comedians dealing with bullshit? Because we use our humor to, like, make other people feel better because we feel like shit.
Yeah. I think it's just, I don't know, making people happy is the best thing you can do, even.
Yeah, like, and even if, like, I was, like, even if it wasn't somebody who was like, hey, I'm having a shit day, like, I know that in high school a lot, and, like, this is where I kind of got, like, a crackhead reputation, was because...
What a great start to a sentence.
Right? That's how I got my crackhead reputation. It would be, like, because my comedy has turned into, like, really physical shit.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not in, like, reflexive, like, reactionary comedy. It's not really coming up with jokes on my own. It's more reacting and then, like, physical. Yeah. And that was just more to, like, draw attention to myself and how stupid I was being, to make people laugh or to make them, like, smile or whatever. Just to, like, show them that it's like, to see somebody, like, laugh at you, but, like, for a good reason, was, like, not crack. not to put it in terms of drugs, but it was, like, it was kind of, like, you know, it was, like, that fix.
Yeah. And
it became, like, this obsession where you're, like, all right, I need to make sure that everybody else is okay, and then, like, make somebody laugh today, or, like, you know, it became, like, what you were focusing on, or at least me. It became, like, what I would focus on, and, like, work on doing that, and then completely not addressing what I was going through.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of a form, like, if you can get someone's mind off of their reality and what they're doing, like, that day, it's kind of a form of escapism. Like, that's the same reason I love TV and I love, like, watching stand-up, is it just gets my mind away from thoughts that I don't want to think about. And if I can help anyone in that way, because I know when I'm hanging out around my friends and I laugh with them and everything, I'm not thinking about stuff. So, but then, like, I come back home and it's just, it hits me again.
Yeah, it's like what I mentioned to my therapist. I was like, I'll be having a great day, because I'll be, like, with people that I know, and then, like, I could be, like, having a great day, I could be laughing, I could be having a splendid time, I could be feeling great, and then the instant I have, like, any downtime, like, that I'm, like, breathe, like, where I'm just like, oh, I can finally relax, alright, I'm not doing anything for 10 minutes, instantly it comes back.
Yeah. And I feel like that's why Newstime has been so helpful to me. Like, I know that if I didn't join Newstime probably freshman year, there's a good chance I probably would have dropped out and just, like, gone to Columbus State where all my friends were going. Because it was just, having something you can go to, like, 2 or 3 times a week and just talk to people and laugh and joke around, and it helps so much, at least. It helped me a lot.
That's it, like, I didn't even, like, realize how much it helped until, like, not just recently, but as I've been, like, working through all this shit, I, like, didn't realize how much it helped, like, that freshman year, like, to have that constant where I could just go to that, like, 3 days a week and, like, you know, make stupid jokes, like, Ghost Watchers.
Yeah.
Like, we're making, like, a parody on, like, ghost hunting films. It's stupid, but, like, it helps so much to have, like, that group of people that you could go to and not think about anything. Like, you could just turn off your brain and just laugh and make stupid fucking jokes.
Yeah. Because it's, like, it's like creative expression, in the same way you're writing, you're making a video, and you're also being able to just, like, let out all the jokes or all the feelings you have kind of in the club, too.
And even if, like, you're not expressing it, like, with words or directly, you're just, like, still, it's like a distraction, basically.
Yeah.
And it helped so much in that, like, first 2 years that I didn't realize it until, like, just now, because, like, you know, I've been working through it, like, actually.
Yeah.
And it's something that, like, you don't realize how much you rely on something until you, like, focus on how much you're like fucked up.
Yeah.
Not fucked up, but like, you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
You don't realize it until you like start actively looking at how you feel about something, you know.
Yeah.
I still have 4 other pages. I could talk about this all day, like honestly.
I'm ready for some more
but
pages.
I will only do highlights so that we could make this a relatively, concise.
Yeah, we don't want to give them 2 hours of,
Hi, welcome to the
serious.
2-hour episode.
Our funny episodes don't even go past an hour.
You better listen to it all.
Hi, welcome to Newstime. We have a 2-hour episode of a podcast where we talk about hard shit. Everything else we make is like 3 minutes long.
It's just because they don't get to see our meetings, which...
our meetings that last an hour and we don't do anything.
Those are
those are
I wish
good.
we could, just record those and make those content.
If we could... we made some content for you, Mr. President.
Mr. President.
And he's like, hey, you guys need content every week? And we're like... The meetings are content.
We hand deliver our content to Dwayne Nellis himself.
If you want the best Newstime content, you have to join Newstime.
Oh yeah,
Newstime.
Our best content is definitely not in the videos. Best content is all the bullshit that we throw out during the meeting that does not make it to like the actual video or articles.
Is this just an ad for Newstime?
Yeah,
Newstime,
yeah.
7:30 to 8:30.
Shameless self-promotion Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Scoot over 508 this semester. If you're listening to this, next semester, it might not be the same room or the same time or the same day. But yeah,
woo! Shameless self-promotion. Shameless plug. All right, so back to facts. I'm just gonna quickly go over some things that you can do to during a conversation with somebody about their mental health. We discussed openers and how it affects everybody differently. There are different warning signs and everything. And we discussed some openers that you could possibly use. But some important things to keep in mind while you're having that conversation with somebody is keep it casual and relaxed. It should be more like a chat with somebody, like this is.
Yeah.
Rather than a therapy session.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be drilling them, trying to find out what's wrong with them. It can be as casual as hey, I've noticed that you're stressed. I'm not going to intrude, but if you want to talk, we can catch a movie or something.
Yeah.
And it can be that simple. It can you don't even have to talk about it, but you can just acknowledge that you're there and that you care and that it's something that is a physical, it's something that they are dealing with, and to acknowledge that you should, and to show them that you know that they're struggling, that can even help to lead them to finding help in other forms, or through therapy, or reaching out to you as a person. And with a conversation about their mental health, if you're going with hey, I saw that you were stressed, I'm not going to intrude or anything, but if you want to talk, we could just catch a movie or something. And you don't even have to talk about their mental health or anything during the movie, or even after the movie. It could just be you saying, hey, something's up, I'm not going to go any further into prying, but if you want, we can catch a movie. And if they say, yeah, I'd like that, and you go and see the movie, that's it. That can be it. That can be the conversation.
And that really shows that you care.
Yeah. It's just showing that you care and that you acknowledge that there's something up is honestly enough. Because then if it shows that you care and that you can be trusted, which is a perfect segue into the next point. I'm king of segues today. And then with that, it doesn't have to be a conversation at all. It can be that movie, and that's it. And then it shows that you're available and that you can be trusted, And that's like the main thing to keep in mind when you're talking with somebody about their mental health, is to keep yourself available, to be there, to show that you can be trusted. Because you might be the only person that they talk about this to.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly valid. Is to be the only, like, if you trust one person, that's fine. That's completely okay.
Yeah.
But other points, during the conversation, let them lead. That's a main thing. You're not there. It's not, the conversation isn't about you. Your job is to listen and to show you care. And sometimes it's not even a conversation. Sometimes you're just going out to a movie, and that's the entire it. And then that can lead to them being, hey, thanks for that movie. There actually is something going up. And, you know, again, it goes back to making sure your intentions are clear. Showing that you care and being like, hey, I noticed something was up. I'm worried about you. And I just want to know what's up so that I can help. And just showing that you just want to help them feel better. Like, that's the main thing.
Yeah.
And like another thing is avoid offering advice. I kind of like already put this down as like when I was taking these notes from a website that I was on. Again, I will give resources here in a second. I was doing all this research and everything, and like a lot of it I had already thought of or had already like written down, and so I repeat myself quite often in my notes. And nice voice crack me. That was delicious. You know, you're not there to quote unquote fix them. You're there to listen and basically just be an ear, which is very difficult for some people. And I get it. You know, it's difficult to sit there and not want to say something, you know, and you want to help, but sometimes advice, like, we all feel that way. Like with my mom, like, though we all feel that way, it's advice, and it's completely valid advice, but sometimes it'll fall flat and it will come off in the wrong way.
Yeah.
You know? And that's why I always say, try not to offer advice because it's allowing them to express themselves.
Yeah.
And try not to respond with a statement about yourself too often. Like, you can offer advice, but try to steer away from that as much as you can, because it can often fall flat, and it's disingenuous. Ingenuine. Because while it is showing that you're caring, it's kind of like you're not listening really.
Yeah.
When you give advice, because it's just like this prepared statement that you want to give, and I get it, you want to help, and like it's just basically when in a conversation, your job is to be the ear and to listen and to show that you care, and that's basically all my notes, just repeating themselves over and over and over again. But another thing, just keep repeating that it's okay and that it's perfectly valid to feel this way, the way that you do.
Yeah.
When you're talking to somebody about it, it just repeating that it's okay and that they're okay is honestly probably it shows that you care, and it shows that you're listening at the same time. It's not like advice, you know. It's showing that you're there, you're present, and that you want to help, but you're still listening to what they're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know, like, there are a lot of times where I just like feel alone, you know.
Oh yeah.
And just having someone there, like, for you is very helpful.
100%.
Yeah.
I have one friend that I have like that.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I have one.
I feel like shit today.
And the thing is, I feel like a lot of people feel like they're alone in how they're thinking or how they're feeling and stuff. And, like, because I know I've felt that way for a long time. I was like, I'm the only one who feels this way, and it's
if I look through my journal of like all of like I've started to keep a log of like all of my attacks, or like even when I'm like not feeling the greatest and I just need to write something out. The ones where they're really bad, like almost illegible, because like it's like the thoughts are just so whirring in your head that you just can't write correctly. But you know, a lot of them have to do like a repeating like theme is like I'm alone, and you feel alone sometimes, and like even like though I have like this one friend that I always go to, sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
Because when it's really bad and you feel so alone, even that one person that you trust, if it's like if your thoughts are like running so wild that even you can't trust them, then sometimes that happens, you know.
And sometimes I feel like I don't want to drop all of this on them.
Yeah.
Because even if they're going through stuff, if they have mental health issues as well, it's like you don't want to contribute to that. And
that's rough.
It is.
And that one person I go to also suffers from mental health.
Yeah, same.
And I'm like, I'm glad that we're suffering together, but then at the same time, when I'm like in a really bad spot, I'm like, I am not burdening them with this bullshit, because I know that they're also going through bullshit. It's bad.
It is.
It's such a like weighted edge that you're just like, yeah, it's all fine. I can talk to somebody, and then you're just like, nope, can't talk to anybody. Nope, I'm burdened.
That's why it's good to get a therapist.
We love therapy, confidentiality. Again, so during the conversation, back to the topic at hand, make yourself available and be that person that they can rely on. That's like the most important thing. Is always making the time for them, and like how I do it, like. Even though I suffered through a lot of things, like as I was saying earlier, if somebody came to me, like with that being the ray of sunshine thing, and so empathetic, if somebody came to me, I would drop everything that I was doing, even if it was my own shit. I would drop all of it and be like, "What's up?
Yeah,
I'm here." And like that's the thing, making yourself available, even if you're doing something, at that moment, is so important. It shows that you care and that you could be trusted with that person's feelings and like what they're going through.
Yeah.
Just keep making yourself available is basically it. Like, show that you care, listen, and then keep making yourself available. Be the one that they can trust. Something that I was like, oh shit, never thought about that when I was doing all this research. I was like, ask open-ended questions, help them to talk, not just to say yes or no.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit, I never thought about it like that. And it's something that like when you go to therapy, they do that. And like you don't think about it. But like asking open-ended questions, like I don't know, honestly, I have no idea what an open-ended question would be. I can do it in the moment, but right now, absolutely not. I would have to like formulate one, which I did not do because I'm dumb. But like asking the open-ended questions, and helping, not like, are you okay? Yes or no? I'm like, no. that doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Like
how answer one or two.
How have you been feeling recently? Would be a better question. Still pretty bad.
Yeah.
But that's all I got off the top of my head. So it's still open ended. Yeah. It allows them to fill in some blanks.
Shouldn't be like you're filling out a Scantron.
Yeah, you shouldn't be taking a standardized test. This isn't the ACT.
This is an extended response right here.
Think about this like the ACT. This is not your multiple choice section on the mathematics portion. This is your scientific portion where you have to fill out the whole graph and then give your reasoning why it's like correct. I don't know. Some people are into essays. Can't do them.
I'm good at cranking them out, but like...
Oh, I can crank them out, but it takes me like 6 hours to do like a 2-page essay.
I'm like, I just need to think about it overnight, like plan it the night before, think about it, and then the next day I can do it in like 2 hours.
That's impressive. I don't plan ahead at all, so I'm just like...
Yeah.
This was the first time that I've planned ahead in a long time. And then let them lead again, and let them open up at their own pace. You're not there to judge, and just keep telling them that it won't change how you feel about them. is another thing. Showing that, like, no matter what they're going to say to you, that it's okay. And that it's not going to change how you feel or the relationship between you two. Yeah. You know? And, like, that's something that's, like, really hard at work for me because we're mandated reporters as student leaders. Mm-hmm. So when my friend has something that they're going through, if I work with them, I have to be like, hey, I'm a mandated reporter. I really want to talk, but if you say something, then I have to report it. Yeah. And, like, that's really shitty. Yeah. Obviously, it's to the point where if they say something where it includes harm to themselves or other people, then I have to say something. But, like, otherwise I can listen. But if they're really struggling and they're like, hey, I could really use you right now, sometimes I can't. Yeah. And that's what's shitty because I really want to be available, but, like, my job doesn't allow me to sometimes. And that pisses me off. So much. And then in my notes I say, congratulations, you have started the conversation. Now what? One, don't give up. It's going to take some time. It's a lifelong thing. So stay available, as I kept saying, and then keep checking in on the person. That's another important thing. If it doesn't work the first time, maybe it was off. Maybe the timing wasn't right. Mm-hmm. Who knows? Something didn't work the first time. Keep offering. That's really important. Keep showing that you're available. Keep showing up. Saying that, like, hey, again, always here, no matter what. And then handle their trust with care because, again, you may be the only person that they talk to about this. So avoiding, like even offhand things that you mean well in your intentions, but you never know what the person you're telling it to will do with that information. Yeah. So, and that leads greatly into section number 4, get some outside help. It's okay to not feel adequate to do it on your own, to help one person on your own. That's perfectly fine. You don't have to do it on your own. No one said you had to. If you need to talk to someone, that's fine. Don't be afraid to reach out to someone you trust to talk to about helping that other person, or even to reach out to anybody. I have 2 more things and then we'll get into the resources, I promise. I had a few testimonials. So my one friend, Cora, we'll call her Cora for now. She's definitely like that person who's the one that people talk to. And I don't know if she struggles. I mean, she hasn't a little bit in the past, but, you know, she's still a great human being. I love her so much. But when I asked her, hey, is there any advice that you would give or anything that you want to say in the way of mental health, because I'm leading the discussion, she said, people shouldn't be worried about reaching out when they feel they need to or feel alone, because they're not alone and they're not a burden to or a nuisance to their real friends. When someone comes to her for help, it reassures her that they trust her, that they feel comfortable in telling her about their problems, and that's a huge solace for her. And I think that's a big thing. A lot of the times, not a lot of the times, but sometimes with people, you're not a burden so much as you think you are, as we kept saying. Yeah. We feel like a burden when we're trying to put our problems onto other people. It's completely normal to feel like that, you know? Yeah. And from that other point of view, you're not a burden. Some people really just really want to help. Yeah. And asking for that help just reinforces it with that person, that they're like, see, they're comfortable enough. Yeah. And it's just that you're not a burden, basically, that you're not a nuisance. Yeah. You're not this big problem that you're throwing onto somebody. Yeah. You know? And
I feel like a big part of that one testimony you said was the part that said real friends. Because people who think you're a burden for that are not your real friends.
No,
absolutely not. Sorry, I'm trying to think of a name for this other one.
Jimothy. No, that's not good.
No.
Jimmy.
No, we'll do Sam.
Okay.
So Sam sent me like a whole testimony, like a whole story, and their story is really, really great, and they're an amazing artist, and I love them so much. Again, most of my friends that I have that are struggling are wonderful, wonderful people. Mm-hmm. But they said, since coming to college, I've been mistreated and abused, and a lot of bad things have happened to this person since they've moved out and had to be on their own, and they lost who they were, and they decided to seek out a therapist, mm-hmm. and decided to get help, and they said that through seeking help, I realized how to listen to myself and not to others. I learned how to fully be comfortable in my skin, my clothes, and my words. And being aware of who I was able to love myself because I knew that all that had happened to me for a reason. It allowed me to relearn how to love myself and then how to learn how to love others again. And I thought that was really beautiful as a piece to say. And a person could be going through, and sometimes they hide it really, really well, and sometimes they don't, But working through it can bring them back from a really, really dark spot. And the Sam that I know now is so full of love for everybody else. And to know that they went through all of that shit and came out such a way more caring person is you can often go through a lot of shit, but if you don't work through it, there's no chance for you to grow back. You know? Yeah. If you cut down a tree and you burn the stump, that tree ain't gonna grow back. But if you don't burn the stump, then there's a possibility of a new tree sprouting.
Yeah.
So, I have a whole bunch of resources for people who are not knowing how to start a conversation with somebody, or unsure of what to say. SeizeTheAwkward.com. It has a lot of testimonials from people of around our age, honestly. 20 to 35 age range about. What are some symptoms? What are some red flags? What you can do, how some icebreakers for a conversation, what to say during a conversation, what to do after you have the conversation. Mm-hmm. It's got so much information. It's a wonderful website for information. Wow. Great. And that's SeizeTheAwkward.com. I will put a link in the bottom. And then some more serious resources are the crisis text line. If you're in a crisis, you can text SEIZE in all caps to 741-741, and it's 24 hours 7. What? 24/7. It's open 24/7. It's completely confidential, and it'll put you in touch with a crisis counselor, and it's somebody to talk to if you're feeling like something really, really bad might happen with you, if it gets any worse. There's always the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, which is 1-800-273-8255. Again, I will put all of these in the bottom. And then, of course, emergencies only, 911, if, someone's gone pretty far. And then some more things for, a local standpoint. On campus, we have psych, counseling, and psychological services. They have a 24/7 hotline. I will put the number and link to their website down below. And then we also have the Survivor Advocacy Outreach Program for sexual harassment, dating violence. There's so much more information on their website and through their crisis hotline, both of which I will put down below. I encourage everybody, even if you're not struggling or if you are, I encourage everybody to take a look, even for like 10 minutes if you have it, to like take a look at that information that's down there.
Yeah.
It really does help. Sorry.
Okay.
The Survivor Advocacy Outreach Program also has a building that you can go into on, I think, North Congress. I'm not sure. Again, I'll put the address below with all the other stuff. It's not 24/7, but they do have hours that are available, and all of it's completely confidential, which is wonderful.
Yeah. Okay, this is my turn to give.
Yeah.
So there's this YouTube channel called Philosophy Tube, and he has a couple of videos that deal with mental health that his audience tends to say really help out with them. The first is called Suicide Mental Health, and that's about a year old now. And then he did an update video 2 months ago called Men Abuse Trauma. So it covers, honestly, some of what we talked about today. Like, it talks about his own experience with mental health issues, and I highly recommend them. They're very well made, and can just offer some great insight.
I'll link another interview that I found, again, down below. So I encourage everybody to check out all those links and to, just not educate yourself, but to just, refresh your brain and then, learn some things. It's, even if you don't need to use it right now, it's always good to have that information ready and available. Thank you for tuning in to our podcast. Remember that you aren't alone in how you're feeling, and it's always good to seek help. And we'll see you on the regular podcast this week.